This lesson is the Living Constitution. It's part of our curriculum in social studies. This unit's known as Celebrate Freedom Week within the district. So this week we'll be dealing with law and the Constitution. Constitution, primary author of the Constitution is James Madison, and the Constitution is not a perfect document by any means. Over the years, it has been amended or changed 27 times. There are 27 constitutional amendments. It's divided into articles or chapters. There are 7 chapters to the Constitution, so we'll take a look at those. First, I'm going to give you 18 vocabulary terms. So, piece of notebook paper, just like old-fashioned vocabulary. Put your name, first name, last name, class period, and then the title is the Living Constitution, and I'm going to be presenting 18 words and definitions for you. So please write these down. When you come back to class, hopefully in October, we'll take that paper and put it into your class binders for grading. All right, here we go. First word, slavery. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution abolished or stopped slavery in the United States. The United States fought a bloody Civil War, 1861-1865, United States, USA versus Confederate States, CSA. Of course, the USA won that war. Congress ratified the 13th Amendment, and that stopped slavery in the United States. Word number 2, impeach. The Constitution has rules. If a federal official breaks those rules, breaks those laws, Congress can impeach that individual. Here you see a picture of President Bill Clinton. When he was president, he had made a bad decision, had an extramarital affair in the White House. The media found out, Congress found out, so the House of Representatives, they wrote up formal charges against the president. Those charges were then given to the Senate, who conducts a trial, and the Senate determined not to prosecute Bill Clinton. So he got to stay in the White House as president, but it tarnished his image. It was a pretty embarrassing moment for the presidency. 3, record, the Congressional Record. The Congressional Record is the official journal of proceedings in Congress. All decisions, all arguments, all debates that happen in Congress are recorded into the Congressional Record. Number 4, 2 terms. The president can only serve 2 terms. One term is 4 years, and then he goes for re-election. If he's re-elected by we the people, he gets to serve a second term. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR, he served 4 terms, 1932, and then re-elected in 1936, re-elected in 1940, re-elected in 1944. And then he succumbed to the disease of polio and passed away while he was president. Congress then looked at that and said, maybe that's too much power, too long for one individual, so we have set term limits on president to 2 terms. Word 5 is number 18. You have to be 18 years old to vote in the United States. But in the 1960s, the voting age was 21. But yet we were sending young men and women, pretty much men, were being drafted into the Vietnam War. So the irony is, you were old enough to have a weapon and go fight in the war, but you were too young to vote. So Congress looked at that and said, that's not right. Created the 26th Amendment, lowered the voting age from 21 down to 18. Election Day. Every 4 years, the American people go to the polling place and vote for presidents. This is one of your rights, and your responsibility is to go vote on Election Day. Number 7, the year is 1920. The year that women's suffrage voting rights were passed. It says the year 1920, but the amendment number is the 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment to the Constitution is what granted women the right to vote. Filibuster. It's not a term you hear very often, but a member of Congress can stop a bill from becoming law. The term for blocking a bill by holding the floor. In this photograph, you see a lady. Her name is Senator Wendy Davis, and she is on the Senate floor in Austin, Texas. Notice all the chairs are empty around here because the lady has had the microphone for many, many hours and just talking and talking. In this particular instance, there was a bill to make it harder for females to get an abortion, to make it harder in Texas to get an abortion. Wendy Davis, she didn't like this bill. Now, the bill it's on a clock, and there must be a vote before that time expires. So when Wendy, it was her turn to get the microphone, as long as she talks, stands on her feet, does not sit down, doesn't lean on a desk, doesn't leave the room, she controls the floor. So she filibustered the bill until the clock expired on that particular bill and the vote was not allowed to happen. Filibuster. States. Article 4 of the Constitution is about relations among our states. I said this earlier that the Constitution is divided into 7 articles. Well, Article 4 deals with how states conduct business with each other, how we respect each other, how we do not tax each other. So just the relations amongst the states. Number 10, limits. The Constitution describes, distributes, and limits powers of the government. Federal government is divided into 3 branches: the legislative branch, which is Congress, the executive branch, which is the President, and the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court. They all have powers, but they also have limits. We do not want one of these 3 branches having more power than the other 2. So they all have limits to maintain a balance of power. The Preamble. This is the opening paragraph of the U.S. Constitution. Preamble states the purpose of the Constitution. And in that paragraph, it pretty much defines the roles and responsibilities of the United States government. Veto. The President refuses to sign a bill into law. Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate, they come up with an idea, a law. It passes through their committees. They then take it up the hill to the White House and put it on the President's desk. He reads it. If he likes it, he signs it with his ink pen, and it becomes law. But if he doesn't like it, he can veto the bill. He will write down why I am not going to approve this bill and give it back to Congress. Congress then goes back to the House of Representatives or the Senate, and they decide to either change it to make the President happy and get his signature. They can just tear it up, throw it away, and give up. Or if they can get 3/4 of Congress to agree that this bill needs to become law, they can override the President's veto. But that doesn't happen very often. Law. Number 13 is law. When the President signs that bill, then it becomes law. In this photograph, you see President George W. Bush signing a law, and that law is called No Child Left Behind. So it was major changes to education, and one of those changes affects you, and that is the STAR test. So the signature with that ink pen that day, this is what creates STAR tests for all of us. Number 14, amendment. Constitution has been amended 27 times. In this picture, if you've ever seen the movie Lincoln, this is the debate in the House of Representatives about the 13th Amendment, which was passed and abolished slavery in the United States. 15, standing committee. On its toes, committees. When a congressman creates a bill, it has to pass through the committees of both the Senate and the House of Representatives. They argue about it. They can either get rid of it, they can change it, and once it passes and approved by both these committees, it's ready to be presented to the President up at the White House. #16, the House of Representatives. The minimum age requirement to be in the House is only 25 years old. Okay. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York, she is the youngest member of the House of Representatives. She's the youngest member of Congress. And actually, I need to update that. She's had a birthday since this slide was made. She's 30 years old. And still the youngest member. Poll tax, this is illegal. We don't have this anymore. But the southern states, they adopted something called a poll tax. They charged a fee to African Americans who walked in and wanted to vote. These southern states, they said, well, you got to pay money. You can't just walk in here and vote. So they were charging a poll tax. When the federal government found out what the southern states were doing, they created the 24th Amendment. So these fees are now banned. No one can charge money. No one can make you pass a written test or anything like that. It's free for anybody to walk in during Election Day and vote. And our last word is vote. The 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote. The 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote. Okay, so there's your vocabulary terms. Have those written down. You'll see this on a test, so be familiar with this. And okay.